Hi kittens, I'm Julie Savone, psychedelic facilitator, integration expert, and your guide for this wild ride, the Inner Trip, 365 days with plant medicine. I've helped hundreds of people use plant medicine, primarily psilocybin, to heal, expand, and step into their next level. But this year, I'm taking it even deeper. For the next 365 days, I'm bringing you with me. I'll be microdosing, journeying, integrating, and exploring what it really means to live a limitless life, with plant medicine as a tool, not a crutch. So if you're ready to feel more alive, more clear, more limitless, and you're down to do it with mushrooms and a little bit of sass, you're in the right place. Let's take the inner trip. Hello, kittens. I have an absolute wild story to tell you today. It is one of the wildest things that has ever happened to me. At the time, it was honestly a pretty terrible occurrence for me and for someone else involved. But looking back, it really just shows me like the true magic of mushrooms, and really reinforces the saying that whatever is done in the dark will come to the light. At the time, it was really devastating. I've done a lot of work around it, and now I can look back and just be like, what the hell was that? Like, that was insane. And the reason I want to tell you that story today is because a lot of little like synchronistic things have come up for me recently. I am in this period. I was talking about this today on Instagram where it happens like once a year. And it happens at this time of your like cozy season for the last 3 years where like I just can't stop reading. Like almost like an addict. Like I can't put the books down. And I just love getting lost in these stories, in these worlds. And I think for me right now, I had really been in a building season in my business and a hustle season since May. And so it's been like it's November. It's the end of November now, right? So it's just been a lot for a while. And so to have that time to like step back and just lose myself in a book has been really lovely and amazing. And the first time that this kind of happened started right after this. I won't bury the lead, don't worry. It's like I feel like I'm gossiping with you, but it's like, does it count as gossip if it's about me? I don't think so, right? Like I can tell my own story. After this happened about 3 years ago. So let's dive in. Also, if you have any good book recommendations, send them to me on Instagram. When I first started doing this, I read the Sarah J. Maas, is that her name? Series, both the court one and the one with the fairies and the one with, I guess they both have fairies. Why can't I think of them now? But you guys both know which one I'm talking about, right? There's like 7 books in each series, the court books and then the other books. And I like read all of them because I just was ready to like lose myself in something after this whole fiasco. And I really hadn't read like fiction in so long. I'd been reading so much personal development for, years. And as a child growing up, my mom always used to say I was a vociferous reader. I love to read. I would read all the time. I did not have friends. I had books. So it was nice to kind of bring like a return to myself in that way. And yeah, it really is like I love reading. It's just such a beautiful practice of experiencing a different world, and there is entertainment that exists outside of our phones, which is a great reminder. And I am that person who's like, well, I think the book was better than the movie, except sometimes. I recently read Sense and Sensibility and then watched the movie. I definitely thought the movie was better. Oh wait, sorry, or Mansfield Park. That's what I meant. All right, let's get into it. So, where to begin this story? When I first moved to San Diego, this ties into a mushroom journey that like totally revealed something to me that like was completely hidden. And honestly, it blew my mind how powerful the mushies are. And so whenever people say, well, like, I don't know, isn't that whole mystical part of mushrooms, like that's just in your head? And, we can't prove like the mysticism side of it. We can't prove God's existence or something larger than ourselves or, there's not, that's the whole point of faith. But when something like this happens and the mushy showed me this undeniable truth, it was like, I believe. I am a believer. There's no one who's going to talk me off this ledge. Like there is ascensions to mushrooms. They know things. They want to protect you. Okay. Anything the mushy show you is for your highest good and your protection. when I first moved to San Diego, I started this personal development program. It was like the first thing I'd ever done. I wasn't a coach yet. I wasn't even thinking about coaching. And I started this personal development program and I met a friend there and we became fast friends. And she really introduced me to her friend group. And, at the time she was dating this guy that unfortunately she is now divorced from. Not unfortunately, it's good that she's not married to him, but, sad that the marriage ended in general, like a lack of loyalty and things. Okay, so her boyfriend introduced me to one of his friends. I was like, hey, I really like the idea of being set up. I don't really love the apps, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this guy and I go on a few dates, and then I leave. I'm going back home to Iowa to help my mom close my grandparents' estate. And I'm like, I'm going to be gone for a few months. We kind of attempt to stay in touch, but he's not a very consistent communicator. And so I know that I'm more anxiously attached. And so this is where this narrative begins of like, it's on me as a more anxiously attached person to almost like take what he is willing to give. And this is the thing. Attachment styles can be weaponized, meaning like you can say, well, I know that I'm anxiously attached and that's why I texted you 15 times. Like, it's not my fault I'm anxiously attached, right? Or it can become a way to gaslight yourself. Or like, okay, I know I'm anxiously attached, so yeah, I just need to work through why this is bothering me that he only calls me or talks to me like once every 3 days, right? So I'm in this holding pattern, and then by choice, right? Like I take full accountability that I'm choosing in this dynamic. And it gets to the point where I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to do this. Like, it's clear where your priorities are and they're not maintaining like a consistent connection, which is also fair. Like, I'm not there. So, like we stopped talking and it's very like, it's fine. It's neutral. It's not like no one's upset. Bam. Okay. So I come back to California after we close up my grandparents' estate, and, we get back in touch, right? Like he is in my friend group, sort of tangentially. I would say the girl that I'm friends with, right, is more like the core of the group, and then her boyfriend, I think that was her fiance by that point, I'm not sure. And this is his friend. So he's not really like in the group like I'm in the group, but we're going to see each other socially. And so we kind of like pick things back up a little bit, but it's nothing serious until about 6 months after that, right? So 6 months after that, him and I like more give it a serious shot again. I'm living there full time. We've been hanging out in the friend group and it's progressing. I will say though, there were always some things like I never fully felt like he was there, like present with me, right? He had a really hard time being present. He had a really hard time stepping away from his phone for work. I just kind of always felt like I know it sounds like a little corny or weird to say, but like his soul never really landed in the same room with me. There wasn't this like deeper emotional connection. And I thought like maybe that's okay, right? Maybe that is not what I need from him. Like there were so many things on paper that really made me think this guy was a good idea for me. He was part of the friend group. He had a really stable job. He like had savings. He owned property. There was all these things on like the scorecard of adultness that I was like, okay. He was tall. I was like, yeah, perfect. So he was never fully present. I never felt like we got really there emotionally, like deeper there. And there was this like, he was more avoidant. He wasn't as communicative. And so I wouldn't ever say I was like 1,000% jazzed on the relationship, but I had this really like cynical sort of like view that maybe this is what adult relationships were, right? And maybe this is how it all worked. And maybe like the passion and the like deep emotional connection was actually a problem because there was this other guy who like I had started seeing and that had really blown up, right? But we had that like fire. So we continued to date. And at this point, was I already? Yeah, I was already facilitating. Okay, so I was in the in the microdosing space, in the psychedelic space, and we went on this trip and to Denver for my birthday. And he wants to do acid. Like he knows acid is my favorite psychedelic. I'm like, okay, cool. So we do it, and oh my gosh, kittens, it turns into a terrible experience. He is like having a terrible trip, like literally clinging to me as if like I am a lifeline in the river of life, right? Like, oh my goodness. And he's huge. He's like 6'4", and I'm short. I'm like 5'4", right? So it's like just such a crazy image of this like giant man clinging to me for dear life. And he's having a bad trip, and I'm like, what's going on? Because I also like, we were in such a nice space. We were in this nice hotel. It felt very safe. Like we had our cute cozy robes on. We were in the hot tub. Like there was nothing that should environmentally, like I was really controlling for set and setting, right? And like I had him set an intention with me, and our intentions were really nice. Like I'm doing all the Julie facilitation things. And he tells me, he starts to kind of hint at like, he feels like he's a bad person and he can't fully let go and he doesn't like himself. I think that's more it. Instead of being like, he's a bad person, he doesn't like himself. He doesn't like himself. And I'm like, what? Like, where is this coming from? All this kind of stuff. And so, finally he comes down. And I have to have a really honest conversation with him. I'm like, if you're not in a good space to be in a relationship, like that's totally fine. But then he gets mad at me and says like I'm like the only thing he knows he wants and blah, blah, blah. And so this kind of becomes a theme, this conversation of like, he feels like he's a bad person. He needs to work through something. He wants to use psychedelics, but he doesn't want to use psychedelics with me because he doesn't feel like he can fully let go. And so I'm like, contacting other facilitators, trying to set something up for him, all this stuff. And in the midst of it, there's this weird thing where, I shared he wasn't fully present ever, where we didn't really drop in with each other. We weren't emotional like that. And I noticed that he would lie about things. And they were dumb things. And so he lied about a lot of little stupid things. And I called him out on it. And we got in this big fight. And he like begs me for another chance. Please, like, I'm so sorry. I won't do this again. But he goes on a trip with his friends and his dad and stuff, and he's partying, and it just becomes apparent, like, his promises were just that. They were, all words, no action, no substance. And so we break up. And I am, like, mad at that point. I'm mad that he, like fought for it, like wanted to stay together. I'm mad that I believed him, right? Like I'm mad that I have tolerated his whatever for so long. And I'm pretty pissed. And I'm just like, crap, this guy is in our friend group, right? Like I know I'm going to see this guy again. So I really work on it for like a month after our breakup, and it's cold turkey. We are not communicating, none of this. And about a month later, I say, hey, like, can we talk? I reach out, ask if we can go for a walk. And I just, like, it's a clearing conversation. I express how I feel. I express, I take ownership for things. I let him know what, was bothering me. Because when we finally broke up, I was very much like, we're done. It was over in WhatsApp message, actually, because he was in Mexico. And so we have a clearing conversation. He seems to take accountability, and we move on. And I'm like, okay, this feels good because it's almost my friend's birthday, and I know he's going to be there, and I don't want this awkward thing there. Cool. So we have like a nice friendship moving forward. And for a while, it is just like a friendship. And then it kind of becomes not that. It kind of becomes more. And so he like takes me out for my birthday. And then he gets me a gig speaking at a conference in his field, right? And I'm like I get this big paid speaking gig up in LA. And so he drives me up to LA. Like he gets us a hotel room, all this stuff. And this is like almost about a year actually after we broke up. And we continue to kind of have this little like dalliance. Like we're not dating. I would not say like we're definitely not in a relationship, whatever. And then I cut him off for a while because the other guy, where I was like, maybe I don't need this passion and stuff, right? That guy and I start like dating, like boyfriend, girlfriend. And so I'm not talking to this guy during that time because it's just a respect thing for me, right? But that guy and I break up. And, I say, okay, like I'm not in that relationship anymore. Like I feel like we could be friends again. And so we're seeing each other more consistently before I go on a 3-week trip to South America. And then the entire time I'm in South America, this guy's texting me, right? How's your trip going? Blah, blah, blah. I get back. Oh my God, I need to see you. I missed you. Shalala. And at that point, I'm like, okay, we get to have a conversation. Like, what is happening here? This feels confusing. Like, for a while, we were just friends, and now we're not. And he's like, yeah, I agree. I just really worry that I can't give you what you need. It's like, okay. But then he's going on a trip for a while. Like, I just got back from South America. He's going to be gone for a while. And I'm like, okay, like, let's just kind of pause and reassess. And so during this time, I had booked a sit with some facilitators that I absolutely love. And at the time, they were in LA. And so I go up to LA for a journey, right? Like, someone's going to sit for me while I have a full, like, macrodosing mushroom ceremony experience. Beautiful. So, in this experience, a lot of really cool stuff happens. It's actually one of my most favorite trips I've ever had because I had this very, like, intense experience of just, like, loving myself, not from a place of ego, but, like, truly a place of soul, of just feeling like I love who I am. I love how I show up. I love the way I treat people. Like, I'm just really proud of myself. I feel a lot of, like, integrity and acceptance and love, self-love, which I know for a lot of people is, like, and for me, it was a really big struggle for a long time. And also this guy comes up in my trip. And I see him, and I see us in a very pure white light. And it's truly just like a pure light of like friendship. It's love. It's like real love, right? But it is friendship. It is not romantic. It is not like, let's be together. It's not like even sexual at all. It's just friendship. A very pure, friendly love. And so I'm like, oh, okay, awesome. Like, clarity. We're not together. Beautiful. Shalala. Awesome. So I get out of the trip. And as part of my integration, right, because I'm huge on integration, I'm like, I'm going to write this guy a letter and explain to him everything that, like, I had in the trip. Because I know that he is more avoidant. It can be really, like, overwhelming for him when I share my feelings in a conversation, like, face to face, because I feel like, he ends up feeling like he has to come up with a response in that moment. That can be really difficult for him. Words and emotions are hard. I'm like, this is the way that's most respectful, and it's going to give him, like, the best opportunity to, like, respond without being overwhelming. Okay. And I say to him in this letter, like, I know that I haven't said I love you since we ended our relationship. And I don't say that because I don't want to confuse you, but I just wanted to let you know, like, I'm going to say I love you moving forward. And I want you to know that I love you like a friend. I don't love you like romantically. And I say something like, there's nothing, and looking back, never say never. There's nothing you can do that will change that. Because he continues to say he's, like, not a good guy, right? Like, that he doesn't love himself, that he's, like, so bad. Like, I can't remember his exact language, but this was a common refrain for him, right? Like, I don't like myself. Like, yeah, I feel like a bad guy. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, everything he would say was so vague, but I just felt like it was important for me to reassure him, like, I love you no matter what, right? Cool. So I get ready to send him this letter, and this guy has used my Amazon Prime for forever, like, since we dated, right? A long time. And I don't care. Like, use my Prime. Go for it, buddy. And I don't, like, check what he orders or whatever, but I open up Amazon Prime because I want to see, like, okay, what's your address? Like, I knew where he lived, right? But I couldn't remember the exact address. Like, I can drive there, but I don't know the number. And it was so interesting because, a few times in the last, like, couple months leading up to that, there had been times where, I had been close to his house, right? So, like, one time I was walking with a friend. We were doing this. It's called the Seven Bridges, like, hike in San Diego. And I was like, oh, hey, like, me and my friend are really close. Like, to your house. Like, let's, grab a coffee or whatever. He's like, oh, I'm not there. Okay, no problem. We were going to go down to a wine tour in Mexico in Ensenada to support his business. And I was like, hey, why don't we all just drive to your house since it's so much closer to the border and then we'll Uber from there? And he's like, no, 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 no. And I'm like, okay, bro, whatever. Like, that's fine. Not going to fight you on these things. So there are all these times in recent months where like his residence had come up, his house. And I say that it's important because I open up Amazon Prime and the address that he's been sending things to for at least the last 3 months that I can see, right? Like I could keep digging, but I see the last 3 months is a different address. Oh, and what's so weird is we came back from Ensenada and we went to my friend's house, in a totally different area of town, and we're getting ready to like all leave and to go back home. And I said like, hey, I would totally drive you home, but if I were to go like all the way to your house, it's like an extra like 30 minutes on an already like 30-minute drive for me to get home. He's like, no, no, that's totally fine. I'll just get an Uber. So it's so weird because he, like, this new address is only a few blocks away from my friend's house where we all at. And he clearly had lived there at that time. And I was like, what the heck? And so I'm popping mad at this point. I call him. He doesn't answer. He finally calls me back. And I'm like, I thought we were done with this dumb lying shit. Like, why didn't you tell me that, like, you had moved and, like, it had come up 3 separate times in the last few months, right? Specifically of like, you could have said it when I was walking. You could have said it when we were going to go on the wine tour. You could have said it that night after the wine tour when you only lived a few blocks away, but I saw you call an Uber. So like clearly you were trying to pretend like you still live somewhere else to me, which is so weird. And he goes, I know, I'm really sorry. And I did move and there's actually more I want to tell you. And I'm like, what in the world? So this happens on like a Sunday. I'm going home to Sioux City to see my mom. And I go home and by Thursday, like we finally like get on the phone, me and this guy. And I'm driving to my massage appointment. I can see this all. It's almost like replayed in my mind like a movie. I'm driving in my mom's convertible. I'm going to get my massage. And he tells me, yeah, there's more I wanted to tell you. I have a girlfriend. And I was like, what? Excuse me? Like, yeah, we live together. What? And so he's like, yeah, we live together. And I start asking him all these questions about like timeline, like how long has this been going on? And he's like, I don't know. I'm not sure, which is total BS, right? I was like, were you with her in January when you got me a speaking gig and we went up to LA? Like clearly you were with her like on this wine tour and all this other stuff. And he was like, well, I'm not sure. It's like, yes, you are. You are sure. And so I get to we hang up the phone. He has to go to a meeting. I'm going to get a massage. And my massage therapist in Sioux City is someone I know. And so I'm talking to her like this whole time, right? And she goes, you sound like Owen Wilson right now because all you keep saying is, what? What? Like, I cannot stop. Like, I'm almost like when the little Apple rainbow thing happens when it's loading. That was me, but with what? So he's like, we'll talk again. I'm sorry, blah, 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 blah. So I call him that night to like pick up the conversation. He never answers the phone. Turns out that's going to be the last time I ever talk to him. So the next day I'm popping mad. I call my friend who, her husband set us up. She swears she didn't know. The husband swears he didn't know. I called 2 of my other friends, put us all in a group chat because 2 of them are like, love them dearly, but like little psychos and will like find out what the 411 on the situation is. I give everyone all the relevant information. They find this girl. I call her. And I say like, hey, I know that you don't know me. My name is Julie. And Ryan has been cheating on you. Oh, well, anyone who could figure it out, like, there's no way. I don't usually say his name, but someone could find him. I mean, we don't follow each other on anything anymore. Yeah, it's out there. Anyone who knows, so that's fine. But anyway, I say he's been cheating on you. And she's like, I do know who you are. He had always said you guys were just friends. And I was like, what? So the thing is, she knew about me, which is terrible, right? She knew that I existed. I didn't know she existed. I had no idea who this woman was. So we only talked for like 2 minutes, and I can hear him in the background talking to her parents or something because they're with her parents. And so we hang up the phone, and then she asked, can we talk the next day? And so we ended up talking for like an hour, talking about all of this overlap, right? And about how they were about to move into a house together. And it turns out like basically he was already with her when we were still fully in a relationship. And he's been with her this whole other time. It's like 2 years like after. It's just crazy. It's crazy. and they're about to like buy a house together, all this stuff. And it's so interesting because he knew that she had my number, right? And he continued to lie about stuff in like their conversation because he's just such like a, at the time, was such a compulsive liar. I don't know if he is now. At that time, I blocked him on literally everything, including WhatsApp. I have not talked to him since, have not seen him since, thank God. I don't know. Like at this point, like clearly he's like a very sad person who lies. Like there, no one who's happy does that, right? So there's that. I hope he's doing better. But it was such a wild experience. And the thing was, it had been happening for forever, and I didn't know. But it took me doing this mushroom journey, and then writing him the letter and checking the address to finally realize, like, oh my God, this is not what it seems like. And it also happened at literally the perfect time because they were talking to realtors. They were about to like sign on a home. And think about if this had happened after they had already signed, right? Like, which was going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Like, it honestly was all working out for the highest good, not only of me, but truly all involved. And I know, like, it sucked way more for her. Like, I feel so bad for that woman. It sucked way freaking more for her because she, like, literally thought they were going to be together, that they were buying a house. But, like, if it hadn't happened and they had signed a house on his house together, like, that's terrible. That's soul crushing. And so I'm so happy that it happened before they did that. You know, it also, like, he needed to, these lies were clearly holding him back, right? It was heavy on his soul as well. So I think he just needed to like rip off the Band-Aid, and hopefully he has done some work on himself. But it's so interesting. My friend pointed out at the time, like, your journey, like the trip itself wasn't bad. You didn't like have this like vision of this guy with this other girl, and like it didn't totally ruin your trip. The way that the mushroom showed you is actually so like kind and loving. They showed me in the long run by like forcing me to acknowledge that we are just friends, and then having me write the letter and like all of this stuff that led to me discovering it. But that's so true. Like, mushrooms have taught me many lessons, and in the trip itself, they have all been beautiful. I mean, sometimes the integration is hard and it freaking sucks, and like, you know, your life gets thrown into a tornado, but the journey itself is always a really like beautiful, kind teacher. And so I'm very grateful for that. Yeah, I haven't spoken to her since. I hope that, you know, she is doing well. I honestly hope he is doing well. Like, clearly some things were not right in his head or his heart. So I hope he gets right with his soul and with all of those things. But yeah, it was just such a crazy experience that I don't know when I would have discovered it, but honestly, I'm so grateful I did when I did, so that woman didn't buy a house with this guy. And that is the wildest thing that has ever happened to me as a result of a mushroom trip. It's just like the stars aligned synchronous. Like, no one can tell me that there's not ascensions and mushrooms after that trip, because I was just like, this had to come to the light, and it came to the light because of mushrooms. So I'm not telling you to go on a mushroom journey and like figure out some deep dark secret in your life. And the integration that I want to leave you with is, what are you asking yourself the question, what are you pretending not to know? What are you ignoring that is there? Because here's the thing, I weaponized my own anxious attachment style against myself with that guy. And I would always just say, well, he's more avoidant, I'm more anxious. I just need to like, you know, I need to work on myself, right? So that I could be more secure and better in a relationship with him. Versus my intuition, which was telling me, hey, this guy doesn't connect with you. He's never fully present. He's lying about weird stuff. Like, what else is he lying about? And I kind of like tiptoed in there, but I never held strong in it because I never wanted to full. And he also was like telling me I'm not like some version. I can't remember exactly what he used to say of like, I'm not a good guy, right? So there were things that were happening that I was choosing not to see. What are you choosing not to see? And maybe give yourself some space with this one, because that's not always a fun question to ask yourself. Okay, kittens, I'll be back in the next episode answering some of your most commonly asked questions about psychedelics, mushrooms, LSD, microdosing, macrodosing. And in the meantime, I love you lots. That's the end of today's trip. But remember, the real magic has always been inside of you. If this episode landed, send it to a friend who's ready to step into their next level. And make sure you're following the show so you never miss a dose. I'll be back again soon with another day on the path to your most limitless life. And until then, trust yourself, follow your intuition, and keep asking, how good can it get?